Good evening. It's my great pleasure to open this debate. We're going to propose a motion that we should pay professional sportsmen as much as university professors. How we would like to achieve that? That is actually part of the definitions. So we propose that there should be a cap on the income of sportsmen as well as on the income of university professors. And in order for those two groups to have the same income, the cap should be, of course, the same. So, for example, Michael Jordan could get only as much as the best professor. There are several things that must be cleared out in this definition. First is that these caps will be purely on national basis. That means in one state a cap will be different than in another state. The second thing related to that is that the cap will be somewhere in the middle of today's income of the best sportsmen and of the best professors. So it would equalize. And the second thing is about, in the definitions, is about university professors. We have decided to argue only for university professors from public universities. We are aware that in the United States, universities are predominantly private, but throughout the world, those public universities are much more common. That's why we have decided to debate this. Okay, we've got three arguments for that. First is that the cap or the equal pay of professional sportsmen and professional or university professors would create a better educated society. The second argument concerns is purely concerns principles. That is that teachers deserve at least an equal pay because they spend much more time on achieving their position than sportsmen. And the third argument is about moral desert and talents. I will get to that. So to the first argument, if we can, our proposition achieves that the average pay and the maximum pay of today's professors, university professors, will be much higher. And as far as my knowledge of economics reaches, this will create competition, more competition than it is now. And what's related to that is that it will attract much more people and much more intelligent people. Because the problem, as we see today, for example, in the Czech Republic, but in other countries, is that intelligent people do not have the incentive to go on to academia, to teach at the universities. They prefer law, business, and things like that. However, we want to achieve the better educated society, which is the name of the argument, and we want the best people to be in education. And I will explain why having good level of education is good in a moment. So there'll be better competition, therefore better professors at universities. The number of those professors might be the same as it is today, because it is sufficient. And therefore, there will be the teaching at universities will be better.
Point of information.
And no thinking. This will result in a better educated society. And the second point related to that is that teachers having better pay will result in their own better motivation. Again, we see it in our schools. We see it at our schools that teachers have much lower pay than other professions, and they are not motivated to do their jobs as well. And if this pay were increased, teachers would be motivated. This again results in a better educated society. Yes, please.
Teachers, and especially the best teachers out there, aren't the ones motivated by pay. These are the teachers who are out there to teach and not there just to make the big bucks, as side proposition.
Yes, but how many people go to the universities where these best professors motivated by their passion of knowledge are? We believe that we want to make good, great education widespread, not just at the best universities where there are, yes, I admit there are professors who are incentivized not by money but by their passion, but at those worse universities, the professors are usually of lower quality because of the lower pay. And if the pay were increased at the level of the top sportsmen, or sorry, professional sportsmen, then the education or society would be better educated. And now, why is it good? I believe that even the United States owe a great deal to education, to that great leap forward, as it were, around 1880s, 1890s, when you moved in front of Great Britain and other economic powers, and it was because the American society was educated, and therefore there were breakthroughs in technologies, inventions, and you could develop economically. So, and that's what we're trying to achieve now in the time of crises. Innovation is the only way forward. So, to the second argument, teachers deserve it because they spend more time.
On that point, sir.
Yes.
I would like to point out that professional athletes, in fact, spend hours upon hours daily training in order that they maintain their athletic fitness, in order that they maintain their positions in world rankings, in order that they keep the shape they are. And so, merely saying that teachers are the only hours, it's not appropriate.
Okay. Yes, we acknowledge that sportsmen spend a lot of time training, but equally or similarly, university professors must do their undergraduate studies, postgraduate studies, masters, and then PhD. This is quite hard to obtain. They have to study a lot, read loads of books, or do research. This is the same as the training of sportsmen. That is on an equal footing, and that is why they deserve the same pay. And the third argument is about a moral desert. We believe that becoming a professional sportsman relies much more on luck than becoming a good university professor. That is because your talents to become a soccer player, we call them footballers here, just a few people have them compared to the IQ to become university professors. And why should sportsmen derive benefits that come from just from luck, from arbitrary talents that nature has given them? We believe this is unfair. So with all that, I beg you to propose.
I now call on the first opposition speaker, James.
Wait, can they turn on lights?
Oh. Well, I can try.
Thank you. Sorry, I almost can't see them.
Oh, that's okay.
Is that better?
Yeah,
Probably
thank
maybe
you.
better for the stream.
Everyone ready? Billions of people watch the World Cup, the Euro Cup, and the Olympics. Every 30 seconds during the Super Bowl, the average commercial costs millions of dollars. Now, picture empty bleachers, hundreds of thousands of athletes out of jobs, and an enormously lucrative business destroyed. This is the world that side proposition is going to cause, and on side opposition, we cannot stand for this kind of madness. Today, we debate the resolution. This House believes that professional sportsmen should be paid as much as university professors. Now, when it comes to definitions, we fully agree that side proposition's plan does work. However, we'd also like to add to their burden that they must prove that the benefits of their plan outweigh any harms that it does present. Now, on side opposition, we have 3 strong points for you today. First, on how the industries are different. Secondly, the industrial repercussions of this plan. And thirdly, destroying meritocracy, as my second speaker will go through today. But before I go through side opposition's case, I'd like to first go through rebuttals. Now, on side proposition, their first point on bettering education, on how by offering this plan, you're offering teachers the incentive to be better and have more teachers. However, on side opposition, we clearly see this as false. Because first of all, as I explained in my first contention today, teachers aren't in it for the money. These are hardworking teachers who get the joy of their job from seeing young people grow. I believe even you judges can relate to this. The reason, maybe part of the reason why you judge here, the reason why you teach debate, is you love seeing us as debaters come up, rise the occasion, and really improve. Now, even if the incentive is true on side proposition, there's another problem, that you'll have a lot of bad professors. You'll have these people who are pretty much saying, okay, you know, I'm going to get paid a lot of money if I go into this now, and that is why I'm going to pursue an education to become a teacher. What this results in is irresponsible teachers, and quite frankly, is also a product a lot of times, you can see as an example in the American education system, where in a lot of districts of schools, teachers are paid on the basis of whether or not their students pass SAT scores or something. A lot of times, this leads to really bad teachers who only teach the test. And when you go to these teachers, you do not learn anything. You are only learning how to pass an AP exam. You're not going above and beyond and making the educated people that side proposition so desperately wants today. Yes?
Yeah, but isn't SAT done at high school level, not university level?
This is just an example, an analogy coming to any kind of university or any kind of schooling system where teachers are only paid, where the only incentive for teachers is to pay. Now, furthermore, the economic claims they claim today are clearly outweighed by the negative effects on the sports industry, as I'll go through my own contentions. Secondly, on how teachers deserve equal pay. As I said before, this is no reason why we should just automatically change the system, because what really teachers are rewarded by is the experience in teaching students. And lastly, on their third point, on the moral aspect, this is completely not true. Athletes, yes, maybe they need to be born with certain talents, but without hard work and without all the effort they put in, they will be nowhere near the professional athletes they are today. And just because this is a fact that some athletes need some more talent does not mean these industries have to be the same. Now moving on to side opposition's case. First point on how the industries are different. Once again, I'd like to emphasize that college professors and the people who really pursue higher education, they're passionate about their jobs. Why? Not because of the money, as side proposition would like you to believe today, but because they want to see their students grow. They're in this because they want to see students grow, and a lot of the times, college professors today receive grants in order to teach, to do their research, to really enjoy life and really enjoy what they do. And really, by passing their plan, this would either A, have no effect, or B, as I stated before, only create bad teachers. On the other hand, we have the industry of sports professionals, where these are young kids that, yes, maybe they want fame, but they are also in it for the money. Professionals play for the money, as in the example of Miss Hyung, who is a first Grand Slam winner for Taiwan in Taiwan. And in fact, because one of her sponsorships decided to pay her less money, she threatened to change her citizenship to China in order to gain more money. Now, this example clearly paints the portrait of why professional athletes are in here. And by passing side proposition's plan, you're only hurting the industry of sports, which leads us directly to our second point on the industrial repercussions. Now, we'd first like to analyze these effects in two scenarios. First, on how if the industry shrinks right away, or secondly, if the industry just stays the same. Now, in the first scenario, where the industry shrinks, this is a clear fact, and it will happen because people in the sports industry are in it for the money. Why does LeBron James still play today? Why does Kobe Bryant still go out there dunking all the time? Because they are getting lucrative deals, they're getting paid multi-million-dollar contracts, and this is just an intrinsic part of the sport that side proposition you cannot deny. Now, when you pay less people, pay these sports athletes less income under side proposition's plan, you're disincentivizing people from playing the sport. And this has a few negative effects. First, you're losing talent. These potentially talented people out there do not want to play anymore. They realize that they're going to be paid less or significantly less, or even any amount less, they will not want to play the sport. And when you have lower talent in the sports industry that relies so much on this, the sport will not be as exciting and there will be economic repercussions. Second scenario is when when people in the industry itself no longer want to play. Once again, the sport is not as exciting because major players leave. Now, what happens when these major players leave and people are less incentivized to play? Fans no longer attend games and they no longer want to watch. The industry shrinks and the economy will only suffer. Especially in today's global recession, where around the world, the economy really hasn't improved that much. And people and economies around the world really cannot afford for their sports industries to shrink so drastically. This only leads to unemployment, lower standard of living, less taxes, leads to less entitlement programs. The list of negative effects just goes on and on. And as I've proven today, this is clearly a harm that outweighs any kind of benefit side proposition attempts to bring up today. Now, I'd like to analyze this in the second scenario, where the industry stays the same. In this case, the money that was once paid to these sports athletes only goes to the owners, to the coaches, to the people who are already paid a lucrative amount of money. By supporting side proposition's plan, you're only fueling more greed and corruption in systems in the sports industry. This is because sports coaches right now are already wealthy enough and are paid a lot of money. And when you pay players minuscule amounts of money compared to the work they do, this is only allowing these players to be exploited. I'd like to now get another analogy to the American college football system, where coaches and players are almost paid nothing, and this only leads to the exploitation of workers and economic repercussions. So, for fairness in the industry and for the global economy, I urge a strong vote in favor of the proposition.
Okay.
Thank you. Call upon Katrina, second prop speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am here to talk for the side proposition, and I would like to start by refuting the first argument of the side opposition. In the first argument, they said that we would destroy the sports industry by not paying the sportsmen enough money, by paying them less money. We actually refuted that directly in our first argument, even if in our definition, by saying that it is only related to public sports teams. It's only related to public universities. And today's sport events are mainly or absolutely driven by the private clubs that have been paid from private budgets that have nothing to do exactly with our motion. Therefore, their first argument really doesn't stand, because if we are talking about the global sports industry, there are people who are holding that individually. So if you
On that point, Madam
yes, please.
I would just like to point out that that was actually not made clear in the first speech, that they only refer to public universities, and also I wasn't aware of any public sports team that actually exists that are part of the sports industry. I thought the word industry meant a private industry, so I hope side proposition can clear up their muddled message.
I would love to clear that up by saying that you haven't unfortunately listened to our definition. And yes, that I don't know, I'm really sorry that you don't know about private sport clubs, but we have them here, so that's what we're standing for. I'm sorry, the public sport clubs. The public sport clubs and the public universities. Our arguments, the second argument that side opposition pointed out, that sportsmen are there for the money. Well, if all the sportsmen that are there for the money, and they go, if they're there for the money, and then they go out to interviews and say, yes, I've been passionate about football, I've been passionate about basketball since I was 5 years old, that really doesn't stand that they're only playing for the money, because if you listen to them talking, they're all talking about their passion, about how they inspired they were by the sport. And even if you reduce the number or the amount of money you pay them currently, we're not talking dramatic reductions, we're talking about the national level, so each state decides upon itself how much money should be given to sportsmen as well as professors. So yes, we are saying that if you give less money to the sportsmen that play for the public clubs, they will not be discouraged. It is actually very beneficial to give them less money, and I will come to that later on. But let me come back to our first argument about the better educated society. The side opposition, we stand for the fact that if we have better professors, if we pay them more, we create competition. Competition means that more people who are more experienced, and more people who have been developing themselves for a longer period of time, more intensively, will want that amount of money, never mind which purpose they're going there to teach for. We're going to discuss that later. But basically, more people that are very, very valuable for this society are the ones who will be teaching it. So, what I'm trying to say here is, it's not only about professors. Professors are there to make final products. Our final products are the people who leave the universities, people who are the ones who will be running the country later on. This is what we're fighting for. We're fighting for the benefit of the professors as well as benefit for the country itself.
Point of information.
Please.
So I would like to point out again, from side opposition's point of view, the best professors are those who are passionate, who care less about money, who care more about their experiences with the students they teach, and yet side proposition continues this wrong belief that if you throw money at someone, somehow their passion and their will for teaching and motivation for teaching will only improve, when in fact empirical evidence does not prove this.
Okay, sir, thank you very much for that point, because that is what we are saying. Why do professors get to teach people for passion and sportsmen get to play for money? It really doesn't make sense. Why can't sportsmen play for passion and professors teach for passion as well? No, thank you. What I'm trying to tell you here is, teachers don't have enough money. If you give them more money, of course they want their students to benefit. That is mostly the reason they're teachers. But if they want their students to benefit, they have to develop themselves as well. They have to do researches, they have to go travel, they have to do all the things that they're simply not able to do now because they lack money. If they work on self-improvement, that will directly benefit the students that they will be working with, that will directly help the students by giving students more of the experience from the side. No, thank you. From the side of professor. So we are saying that, of course, teachers are there for the passion. And the way teacher will use that money is to develop themselves, therefore develop their students who will later on go out and be the ones who are running the country. Therefore, they're developing the country itself. The country giving more money to professors is directly beneficial to the country. Our second point was that professors deserve it. The side opposition said yes, but hours and days and months of training are spent by each athlete to maintain his or her shape, to, I don't know, work on their body and everything, their skills. What we're saying here is, what else are professors doing? The professional sportsman career rarely lasts longer than 10 years. It is 10 years period of time during which they have to work every day. But for the best professors, and the university professors are people who have PhD. PhD is usually gotten at the age of 30. So one has roughly 15 years of constant hard work just in order to get the PhD. And imagine, And imagine when one does get the PhD, how much more they have to work if they are really passionate about their science or whatever field they're experienced at. Imagine how much more they will want to work and how much more they will want to invest the money they are getting if the side we're standing for does pass. Professors deserve it because they put so much more effort in. They do not put physical effort, they put mental effort. And it cancels out, if you put it on the way, it cancels out each other. It's even. Because for the longer period of time, the side of professors that have to work mentally a lot longer, they're really outweighing the 10 years of physical exhaustion that professional athletes have to have. So what have I told you today? I have refuted 2 arguments from the side of proposition, saying that we'll destroy the sport industry. Well, in fact, we won't, because we're not touching private clubs in any way. We have destroyed their arguments saying that says that sportsmen are there for the money. Well, they might as well be there for passion, as well as professor might be there for passion or for money. That's really discussable. Another thing I told you today is that we need a better educated society, and that better educated society will be a product of higher paid professors. We have proven you that by saying the way professors will invest their money directly benefits the state, as well as the professors deserve it after a long period of time of hard work for decades just to get what they have to be. And then for that side, we're begging you to propose a motion.
I now call on the second opposition speaker, Ken.
Kevin.
It is Kevin? Okay.
Sorry, my handwriting is...
Okay.
Ready? A meritocracy rewards a person for hard work and positive results, resulting in motivation for people and a functioning capitalistic society. A communistic society is one where there's no motivation to work hard. And of course, we all in this room today knows which society actually works and actually lasts. And yet today's side proposition proposes a plan that has communistic traces affecting the sports industry, and so in the end would not only shrink the sports industry, but also adversely affect the economic conditions across the globe, as well as also influence the education industry in a terrible way. Now first, I would like to address some of the points made by side proposition before moving on and extending side opposition's case. Now let's first begin with side proposition's first point, that a better educated society is beneficial for the world. Now, they provide that more money would equal better professors, and that would equal a better educated society, yet some of their links have many questions. One including, which my first opposition speaker has already mentioned, which is the fact that true teachers, the ones who actually produce the best students, are the ones who are passionate about the subject and not passionate about bills or cents. You see, the best teachers are those who care about the experience. They're the ones who actually care about their students. And the truly best professors could care less about the money, because they care about passing on their knowledge that they have gained, about their knowledge in such a passionate subject they have, that they want to pass it on to their students. And so, again, like has been already stated, throwing money at professors who are supposedly motivated by money will mean, in fact, more bad teachers, because these teachers simply don't have passion for any subject and are only there for the money. But not only that, I would like to introduce the fact that we have already stated that there are grants in the current educational system across the world for professors to apply for research. And this obviously includes self-improvement. If you're going through the research process, going into your own subject, perhaps finding a new discovery, I mean, how exciting would that be for any professor? And grants are not like the throwing money at all schools, like side proposition proposes, actually requires professors to write an application that screens which professors are actually passionate about subject, and you can tell through that. And so the money, in fact, is better spent. So not only does side opposition with the current system save more money, but it also keeps the teachers who are passionate in school, and while allowing bad teachers to stay out of schools, because we're not allowing them to just be incentivized by money. Now, side proposition's second point states that, they deserve the same pay. But then the second speaker for the proposition stated that athletes, professional athletes, only work for 10 years and then they can't do anything for the rest of their lives. Well, if that's the case, then obviously the professional athletes are worried about money above anything else, because they still have a very long retirement ahead of them if they live to normal expectancy ages. And so obviously, since they care about money, these two industries are completely different, and such you cannot say that they deserve the same pay when two industries have completely two different considerations, have two different goals in mind. These industries are so different, you cannot judge just because one works hard that they deserve the same thing when they in fact seek something else. Like has been stated, teachers perhaps seek the satisfaction of seeing students succeed and not, piling money up in their bank account, because these are two different industries. Yes?
But again, I refuted that by saying, why cannot a professional sportsman be a professional sportsman? Just
right, I will address that in my own speech. Now I would like to move on to the third argument, which says that sportsmen are lucky. I mean, I believe this has already been addressed, that professional sports people also work extremely hard, and so that also contradicts with their case. I mean, it's basically irrelevant and can be cleared off the table because it simply doesn't make sense. Now I would like to move on to the opposition's case here today. The fact that the industries are different, and as has already been made clear, the fact that just because pros can be passionate doesn't also mean that they still care about money more than anything else, thanks to the fact that side proposition has made clear that most pros cannot last into the 50s and 60s and still compete with young professional athletes, and so this makes money their top priority, even if they are passionate about the sport, and their passion is irrelevant when they're chasing money. Now, the second argument by side opposition today, the fact that there are industrial repercussions. And now, the first scenario is very likely, in the fact that with this proposition's plan in place, there will be a huge decrease in the size of the sports industry. And I'll take this time to address proposition's claim that they're addressing public sports. For one thing, professional sportsmen or sportswomen are usually associated with teams that are owned by private industries, and this is why it's called a sport industry. Not only that, the proposition never defined public team or public sports in their first proposition speak when they should have. And not only that, but I'm not aware that public teams that are in the sports industry actually exist. I'm not sure if the government of any country owns a national team and puts them on television for entertainment. I mean, that would ensure a lot of profit laws, government going into private industries. I mean, it's basically crazy, and so that's why it's non-existent. And so since this is about private industry, since the industry will shrink so much and the sports industry is so large in this world, the repercussions will not only be in the sports industry. Yes, there will be less athletes. Yes, stadiums and other infrastructure will sit empty. But not only that, but advertising, for example, take a huge hit. Travel, because fans travel to games. All of these different industries that are supported by or are influenced by the sports industry, they will all take a big hit. And when our global economy is such, it's terrible, even as of now. This is simply something we cannot take. Yes.
Don't you think that the money spent on advertisements in sport wouldn't move elsewhere? For example, to debate tournaments. If we spend more money on it, it would be more popular.
Right, but the fact of the matter is that changing public perception of what is entertainment takes a long time, and while you're at it, the fact of the matter is an industry shrinking dramatically overnight will have huge economic repercussions, even if you try to make it up later or something. We simply cannot afford this in current economic situations. And now I would like to address the third point today, by-side opposition, which is the fact that it destroys a meritocracy. It not only delegitimizes people who worked hard to become a superstar, but it also encourages mediocrity, because superstars are now deprived of their own worth that they worked so hard to attain. You see, this meritocracy is destroyed. People in sports now have no incentive to work hard, and that means there are less public heroes for people to admire and to follow, and this is just a huge societal problem when you have a society that has no motivation to work hard. The destruction of a meritocracy saw the collapse of the Soviet Union. It saw the transition of China, which could not sustain its communist society. The meritocracy is very important, and so to destroy it would wreak economic havoc. And therefore, for these 3 reasons, side opposition is extremely proud to oppose. Thank you.
I now call on the third proposition speaker, Martin.
Okay, so as a third speaker on the side proposition, I would like to analyze this debate from our perspective and actually point out the clashes that we have seen here. We have seen a clash of a true teacher and a true sportsman. A true teacher is a teacher that doesn't go for the money, that only teaches for his own passion and compassion with the students. A true sportsman, according to the side opposition, is a person who is greedy, he wants money, and is only motivated by success in a form of monetary gain. We believe this is absolutely not the case in this situation, because we believe that actually sports promote the real values, such as passion, fair play, and the youngsters who are passionate about those sports, they don't think about the money. It's not a monetary situation. It's about being able to play the sport, being able to compete, and being able to become the best. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. So therefore, it's not like the best talents won't go to sport because there's not enough money in that. No, if a sportsman, in an early age decides or realizes that he's talented, that he wants to go for it, then he can still earn a very, very good living as a sportsman. He won't be making maybe billions and millions of dollars, but he can still make a very good living. So therefore, no thank you, true teacher and a true sportsman, we believe they have the same goals, that it's a passion. It's not about sportsmen being greedy and teachers being, just passionate about their students.
On that point, sir, that point.
No, thank you. Then again, the teachers. We have heard that the teachers would actually be discouraged by, higher pay, and that the sportsmen are not discarded. It's actually good for them. Well, we believe that the top teachers, those are the people who are successful in business. If you look at, the role model, what you see is that it's the true businessmen, those are those who truly understand the field. Now, the thing is that these days, we believe the teachers are currently very underpaid. That means that the best of the field will think twice about going to the teaching side instead of going to a business, just because of the money. But if we give them a fair amount of money, that's the money they deserve, because they actually educate the elite. They educate the further leaders, those who will create new medicine, those who will create new airplanes, those who will examine the space. And if we attract this elite to the teaching system, then we can get much more from that. Our society will benefit much more. We can explore better. We can actually the progress of mankind can be faster. No, thank you. So that's what we can do in this. They talked about economical repercussions. Well, we believe there will be economical benefits. Exactly the other way. Why is that? The reason is these days sportsmen are greedy. They take millions and millions of dollars in wages, bonuses, and incentives. If they don't get that amount of money, they get a fair amount of money, well, naturally the clubs can lower the ticket prices. And who will benefit from them? Well, it will be the customers and the ones who go and see the match. Then again, okay, thank you.
When these sports teams collapse and no longer exist, I don't think anyone's going to get entertained.
The sports clubs will exist because we don't believe that the talented sportsmen at the very early age are motivated by money, and you haven't proven they are by any means. No, thank you. So, therefore, we believe that there will be no economical repercussions in that sense. People will still be entertained because there will be still the similar players. You think that if there won't be enough money, they will just leave. Well, they won't, because sport is their passion. Sport is their life. Sport is what drives them, what feeds them. They can just leave because, no, thank you. Because now there is not enough money in the sport, so I'm just going to leave. No, it doesn't work like that. Actually, there will be more people interested in the sport and more people coming to the sport because the tickets can be cheaper because the sportsmen don't have to be paid as much. So it actually will have a beneficial effect in this sense. Now that it doesn't, now the thing about effort and our arguments. As I've already pointed out, the better educated society has a better value for society as in general than a few rich individuals, being able to perform like this. And then there is the thing about quality and effort. We believe, yes, sportsmen really invest lots of effort into what they do. They train hard, work hard, want to be the best. But what about the work and the work attitude of the university professors? It's the same thing. What they have to do is spend hours and hours and hours doing something meaningful, educating themselves to be able to pass the knowledge to their students. So we believe that the sheer effort is on a similar level. It's different. One is intellectual, the other one is physical, but it's similar. Therefore, they should be paid the same amount of money in this respect. No, thank you. And then the thing is about the other side actually talked about the players being mediocre and how that's going to affect the whole level of sport and how it's going to destroy sport, how it's going to destroy Super Bowl. We believe these are very, very, very exaggerated claims because we believe that the sport promotes values as passion for the sport, fair play, and understanding that it's not about the money, but it's about having fun and being able to do something you like. It's not about being greedy and making millions of dollars. There's a side effect. There's a side effect of big advertising companies being able to pay millions. But it's a side effect. That's not the primary cause, as the opposition is saying. It's not a primary cause. It's a side effect of that.
Point of information.
Okay.
I would like to point out that based on the proposition's reasoning that both teachers and sportsmen work equally hard, but since sportsmen only can activate for 10 years while professors teach for more than 50 years, it is impossible to restrict their pay to the same level if they are to receive the same pay over the course of a lifetime.
Okay, just one question. Okay, thank you. And then, we believe that their catastrophic scenario of the sport being destroyed and everything, it just doesn't work because of the things that we have shown. And as I would also like to address the last argument about mediocre players. Well, we don't believe that, because even if they were paid a certain amount of money, they always want to win. So it's not about the money in that direction, but it's about being able to actually compete and win. Therefore, we believe that a better educated society with top professionals who will be attracted not by a low pay, but by an adequate pay to what they do, because they contribute to an educated society and they contribute to smarter people in general. We believe that's more than sportsmen. We believe that these people who come into the industry actually teach the kids deserve adequate pay, and we will be able to pay them, and they will not just go to private businesses. We can attract the very best to the academic sphere, and we cannot do that in a public university, at a private maybe, but not at a public, but we are in public universities. So that's why we can do that, and the society will benefit more from highly educated individuals who can push mankind further than greedy sportsmen having millions and millions of dollars on their bank account. So we think that we actually managed to defend our arguments and show why we should win.
Thank you. I call on the third opposition speaker, Nathan.
Everybody ready? Teachers shape us, teach us, and leave a lasting impression on students. However, by turning teachers into passionless men and women who lack the compassion and knowledge a true teacher requires, what side of proposition is going to create are teachers whose avarice drives them to schools. This decreases education and harms the world's future. And these good intentions from the proposition turn negative when they are hit with a dose of reality. We're going to be looking at two areas of clash in this debate. First, the professional sports industry, and second, education. And lastly, we'll look at this debate holistically and see the worlds that will be created as an outcome of both teams. First, on the professional sports industry. First, on the opposition. First, we seek to legitimize and this is our third point, we seek to legitimize the sports industry. We don't want to have these people work their whole lives for 10 years of mediocrity, for 10 years in which their accomplishments are not achieved and their goals are not recognized by the community. the argument was that these people will have equal pay, but the side proposition also stated that athletes can only work for 10 years. So these people are having 10 years of mediocre pay, 10 years of pay in which they will not be able to achieve this fame, this success, and so their hard work will be nullified. But moving on to an even more important point for the sports industry. There are two scenarios that will happen. First of all, the industry will crash, and because people will not be incentivized to go into these industries, because potential athletes will not want to participate in the sports industry, the industry will crash. Or, even if this does not happen, there will be inequality and exploitation. The funds that go into entrance fees, the funds from food, the funds from these stadiums will go not to athletes because of the proposition's plan, but it will go to the owners, it will go to these teams, these organizations, not to the athletes. And so these people who have private yachts, who have private islands, who do not need any more wealth, who already have all this wealth, is receiving too much, and ultimately you are de-incentivizing the sports industry.
Do you think that these owners of clubs or coaches could offer lower prices of tickets?
Okay, thank you. They gave us a reasonable solution. In my third speech, in a POI, you must disregard that. Don't write that down on your flow, because ultimately they created a plan in a 5-second blip. So you disregard that. On the proposition side of the sports industry, they're contradicting themselves all the way around. One of their points was that athletes don't work as hard and they rely on luck and nature. However, and I quote from the last speech, athletes work very hard. Their own side was laughing at how ridiculous this argument is. And so you cannot buy this argument about how athletes rely on luck and nature, because they themselves stated that athletes work very hard. Now on money issues with the professional sports industry. According to the proposition, and we believe this to be true, athletes only have 10 years to work. We're then against the professors working for 50 years, working for 30 years. If they are receiving the same pay for every year, then ultimately professors will get more money, and so there is no benefit for these athletes, and so ultimately they are de-incentivizing the professional sports industry, and the proposition creates a world in which there is decreased incentives for children to go into sports. And there is no equality between professors, between people who teach at universities, and between the professional sport industry. You're weighing 10 years of the same pay against 50 years. And ultimately, there are no benefits for the professional sports world. And so, because they're turning this debate, because side proposition is making this issue very lopsided, you cannot look to them in the professional sports industry world. Second, on the issues of education. First, the opposition has made it clear that we need to emphasize employing professors who love to teach, who love education. They can be incentivized through grants if they are doing a good job in their works. These professors are motivated by their love of their job in creating a better world. And so we are not saying do not help these professors, but what side opposition is saying is give grants, give rewards for people who are ultimately teaching well, give rewards for people who are researching, not just opening a huge fee. The opposition's argument, the proposition's argument is that we need to increase pay. However, first of all, this is very unreasonable, because they are saying a public system, so governments would have to pay a median, and some athletes make millions per minute, hundreds of thousands per pitch, and so in baseball, in Major League Baseball. And so ultimately, you're creating a median between billions of dollars and very low pay, and so how will governments be able to sustain this kind of economic burden? So that is one reason, and second, most importantly, we need good incentives to teach. And finally, on the issue of education, you have to look to side opposition, because we give you real solutions. We are protecting the sports industry, which is not wasting money and losing jobs, and we are solving education by ensuring that teachers are genuinely passionate about their students. Teachers are genuinely have the desire to help students, to make a difference in the world, and do research, to teach the students. And ultimately, we are winning this debate because we give you the benefits of education, all the side proposition does is give you arguments that don't solve in the real world. Also, if people are going, the only argument that's still offensive is that the best professors are truly businessmen. First of all, this is very ridiculous. And second, if people are going into businesses for money, first of all, they are caring more about money than teaching. If a professor really cared about educating the next generation or finding the next cure for cancer, they would ultimately go to universities. They would ultimately value education over wealth. And so these are not businessmen. They are not. They have a business type mentality, not a teaching mentality, not a pedagogical mentality. And so these are not professors with a love of learning. And so we are clearly winning and outweighing, and this should weigh the heaviest in your decision calculus for education, because what is crucial to this debate is promoting education for the next generation, and this is indeed one of the proposition's points, but they do not solve for education. And so let us compare the two different worlds of the proposition and the opposition. On the proposition, first, either the industry is destroyed and athletes have no incentive to continue working because they have 10 years of the same pay as those who will make 5 times more than them by working in universities, and so people will not go into sports. You are de-incentivizing education, physical education and sports for young children, and terrible teaching is turned into a way to get money, or working at universities and teaching people and researching is turned into a way to use your greed to get money. And third, money may be misappropriated, and money will go to the people who already have money, resources, private yachts, private islands. So on the proposition, you must pick your poison, because they give you no real world solutions, and ultimately the opposition is increasing the value of education. We are inspiring the next generation. We are legitimizing hard work. And ultimately, we are stopping the destruction of an entire industry that puts billions of dollars into our economy. And therefore, you must look to side opposition for this round.
I now call on Kevin for the reply.
How is our global society going to look like in 5 years? In 10 years? Now, those today's debate may have seemed like a narrow topic. There are many morals touched upon that crossed our society. Now, so by examining, finally, this debate holistically, I will divide all of the arguments into either principle or pragmatic, sort of the moral part and the reality part. So now let's first take a look at the morals. Now, there are 4 main morals in today's debate. Number 1, that teachers and sportsmen should be paid the same because they both work hard. Number 2, that our education system across the world needs to be better. Number 3, that the global economy needs to be bolstered. And number 4, that a meritocracy is very important for current society. Now let's go back and examine moral number 1. Now, though both side proposition and opposition completely agree, the fact of the matter is side proposition's plan in fact contradicts their own moral, because under their plan, sportsmen and professors will never reach pay equality unless athletes happen to compete even when they're 40 or 50 and starting to get all sorts of bodily harms and diseases. I mean, it's simply not feasible. So when you look at this moral, sides opposition wins simply because they can uphold this important moral that both sides have agreed upon. Now let's look at the second moral in today's debate, that education across the globe needs to be better. Now, side opposition today has provided you a way to make education better, and that is to increase grants, that is to allow passionate professors to actually teach in universities, while not following side proposition's plan of just throwing money at universities, throwing them at professors, and hoping to attract passionate teachers. But obviously, this logic tells us side proposition will only attract people who are attracted to money, but they're not actually attracted to teaching. And side proposition puts it themselves very eloquently when they say that people who see the low pay in the professor profession will go and become businessmen. Well, side opposition says to this, well, those people were better businessmen to begin with. They were never made to be teachers, and in fact, if they walked into a classroom, they would probably make an atrocious teacher, simply because they are not made for teaching and they are not passionate. And so therefore, on upholding the moral to make education better worldwide, side opposition again provides you the right way forward, while side proposition will only create more bad teachers. Now let's move on to the third moral, where the economy needs to be bolstered. Now, side proposition only stated that, their plan won't cause economic detriments, but in fact it will, like side opposition has already shown through 3 and now 4 speeches. And finally, a meritocracy is very important, like side opposition has introduced and continually mentioned, while side proposition seems to ignore the fact that a meritocracy in fact guarantees the only sustainable society that we humans know today. So when you look at all 4 of these morals, you see that side opposition is indeed winning on all morals. Now again, we have already seen some of the applications in reality for at least the paying the same, since side proposition's plan does not transfer into reality. And education should be better. Again, side proposition's plan does not create a better education in real life. And so, again, when we look at the pragmatics, we see that when the economy needs to be bolstered and society needs to be continued to have motivation for workers, we see that side opposition is the only place where you see actual true solutions in real life, where these morals are upheld and our society continues to function as it does now. And so with side proposition, you will not only not uphold morals, but you will also create a worsened society. Therefore, side opposition today is proud to oppose. Thank you.
I now call on Katrina to deliver the final reply speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, the debate we have witnessed today was strictly, as it all came down in the final speeches, about the motivation. Why does one become a professor and why does one become a sportsman? It's basically a debate about morals versus greed. The way the side opposition put it is that, yeah, professors are good because they are really, really passionate about what they do and they really don't need the money. Yeah, they're just passionate and that's how it's going to function. On the other side, because sportsmen can work for a really short period of time, they should be given huge amounts of money. Well, let me just go back to my first speaker that said we are going to put caps on how much money should be given to sportsmen as well as professors. We are not pointing out an exact amount of money. We would love for that to be a huge amount of money. That's what we are trying to prove. That it's not about how much, it's about which one is worth more. It's not about to give professors really, really big amount of money that they will misuse because they're really evil, greedy people, because they will not be able to lead their students properly because they're really evil, as the side of opposition says, and to give sportsmen really huge amounts of money because they won't be able to work throughout their life. Well, it's really unfortunate if one is 30 years old and not being able to do anything more. We would love to encourage those people, since consequently less money would lead to less people in the sport industry. We would love to encourage them to stay, to coach. We would love to encourage them to promote the sport. And what kind of sport do we want them to promote? We want them to promote values of sport. That is what we are trying to tell you here. The reasons for becoming a sportsman can be either passion, their values, or greed. Sure, greed exists. Greed, as we say, is a really bad thing. But giving money to the professors who are very poor, unfortunately, who are currently very poor, you cannot say that they would just get mad with all the power and waste all the money and not care about their students. Unfortunately, what we are facing is that there are some professors who are really bad, but they're passionate. Only argument the side of opposition has given us that they're really passionate. The fact that they're passionate doesn't make them good. The fact that they study, the fact that they've been able to research, the fact that they've been able to travel, it makes them good professors. That is what they need the money for. That is what we need them to encourage them to give governments to give professors the money. We cannot only rely on the private universities, the public, that only elite can afford. We need to improve the quality of public universities as well. That is what we are trying to fight here. The side opposition keeps saying that we will turn sportsmen into poverty. We will not. sportsmen are highly, if they're really passionate about their job, if they're really there to spread fair play, to spread all the values and morals the sport has, the sport's main mission is to promote, this will not kill their passion. This would, in fact, encourage them to work more. They said that it will lead to financial disaster. No, that's not true, because if we give them less money, we are also going to make the price of the tickets lower. Therefore, more people will be able to go there and to see that sport. To conclude this debate, we are not trying to make anybody mad with money or mad with power. We are just trying to say that effort that sportsmen have invested in their life has to be valued as much as the effort that professors have invested in their life. And we are saying that professors should be even more encouraged because they have been working longer and they have been working on various fields. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, the side proposition is begging to propose the motion.